There will come a moment in your life when everything you believed to be right collapses in front of you. You will hear a voice, not from the outside, but from within, that says, "You are 100% wrong." And in that moment, your ego will tremble. Your pride will try to defend itself. You will want to argue, justify, and protect the image you have built of yourself. But the voice of God doesn't come to humiliate you. It comes to awaken you. When God tells you that you are wrong, He is not condemning you. He is correcting your direction. Because sometimes the most dangerous path is not the one that looks dark, but the one that feels comfortable. You can be walking on a road paved with good intentions, yet heading straight into emptiness. Many people live their lives defending the wrong version of themselves. They cling to their habits, their anger, their blame, and they call it being real. But the truth is, being real is not holding on to your mistakes. It's having the courage to face them. So when God says, "You are 100% wrong," don't fight Him. Fall silent. Because silence is the beginning of transformation. In silence, you stop defending. In silence, you start listening. And what you listen to is not judgment, it's guidance. There comes a moment in every person's life when the universe stops you in your tracks, strips away all your excuses, all your noise, and whispers one sentence that cuts through your entire being. You are 100% wrong. When you first hear it, your mind refuses to accept it. You look for reasons, for justifications, for something to hold on to that proves the voice is mistaken. But deep inside, you already know it's true. You feel it not in your head, but in your chest. A quiet sinking, a heaviness that tells you the truth has arrived. This is not a punishment, not an attack, but an awakening. Yet the ego does not know how to stay calm when it is being dismantled. It resists, it screams, it throws up every wall it can build. It tries to make you believe that being wrong means being worthless. But that is the illusion. When God tells you that you are wrong, He is not trying to shame you. He is trying to bring you back home to what you lost. Humility, clarity, truth. In that moment, many people panic. They defend. They argue. They want to be seen as right even when they know they are not. They confuse being right with being valuable. They think if they admit their mistakes, they will lose respect, authority, or love. But what they don't see is that the moment you admit your wrongness, you are reborn. You become lighter. You stop living a lie. The truth does not destroy you, it destroys what is false within you. And that destruction is not something to fear. It is the most sacred act of creation. Every transformation begins with destruction. Every awakening begins with a collapse of the old. So when you hear God saying, "You are wrong," He is not taking something away from you. He is clearing space for something truer to emerge. The human mind has a strange addiction, the addiction to being right. We cling to our opinions, our interpretations, our judgments as if they define us. But being right is not a sign of growth. It is often a sign of stagnation. You can be right and still be blind. You can win every argument and still lose yourself. What matters is not whether you are right, but whether you are awake. The person who can admit, "I was wrong," has already stepped closer to awakening than the one who insists, "I have always been right." Because truth is not owned. It is discovered again and again. The moment you think you own it, you have lost it. When God tells you that you are wrong, it feels like a collapse inside. Suddenly, everything you built your pride upon begins to shake. The beliefs you defended, the choices you justified, the anger you held, the people you blamed, they all fall into silence. And that silence is uncomfortable. It feels empty, like the world has stopped. But that silence is sacred, because in that silence, you stop talking back to life. You start listening. You begin to hear the things you ignored. The soft voice of your own conscience, the quiet wisdom that was buried under your stubbornness, the lessons hidden in the pain you refused to face. In that silence, you realize that God was never against you. He was only trying to reach you. But he could not speak through the noise of your ego. Sometimes, the reason God has to tell you that you are wrong is because you stopped listening when he tried to guide you gently. You ignored the signs. You silenced your intuition. You convinced yourself that your plan was perfect, your path was certain. You mistook confidence for wisdom. You forgot that life is not about proving your correctness, but about discovering your alignment. And so, when your alignment drifts too far, God intervenes. He doesn't send thunder or fire, he sends awareness. He sends you a mirror. That mirror may come through failure, through loss, through heartbreak, through a conversation that pierces your pride. But behind that mirror is not cruelty. It is love. The love that refuses to let you destroy yourself by living a lie. The first reaction to being told you are wrong is always defense. We start explaining ourselves. To others, to God, even to ourselves, we say, "But I meant well." We say, "They started it." We say, "I had no choice." But these explanations are the mind's way of avoiding transformation. The truth doesn't need defense. It only needs acceptance. When you are truly listening to God, you don't answer back. You don't argue. You simply become still. And in that stillness, something remarkable happens. The resistance fades. The heart opens. The tears come. And you realize that being wrong does not make you small. It makes you real. Most people don't understand how liberating it is to admit, "I was wrong." They think it's a fall, but it's actually flight. The moment you stop pretending, you become free. You no longer have to keep up an image, no longer have to hide behind justification. You can breathe again. You can learn again. The person who cannot admit mistakes is like a tree that refuses to bend in the wind. It breaks. But the one who bows, who humbles, who listens, survives every storm. So when God says, "You are wrong," he is teaching you how to bend, not break. He is teaching you how to be humble enough to grow. Think about it. How many times have you been certain you were right, only to realize later that you misunderstood everything? How many times did you argue, defend, insist, only to see later that you were blinded by emotion, fear, or pride? God sees those moments not as failures but as lessons. Life is a school, and being wrong is part of the curriculum. Every mistake carries a message. Every misjudgment carries a mirror. Every wrong turn carries a correction. The tragedy is not in making mistakes. It's in refusing to see them as teachers. When you resist correction, you chain yourself to ignorance. But when you embrace it, you move closer to wisdom. The problem is that most people build their identity around being right. The ego says, "If I admit I'm wrong, I lose." But the soul says, "If I admit I'm wrong, I evolve." The ego wants victory, the soul wants truth, and God only speaks to the soul. That's why his message hurts the ego, because it cannot understand the language of truth. The ego wants comfort, but truth brings clarity, and clarity is not always comfortable. Yet comfort has never produced growth. It has only produced repetition. Growth happens when you are uncomfortable, when the truth exposes what you tried to hide, when your illusions burn and you are forced to rebuild on solid ground. Sometimes, the reason God tells you that you are wrong is because you've been praying for something you're not ready to receive. You ask for peace but hold on to anger. You ask for direction but refuse to change your path. You ask for strength but avoid struggle. God doesn't withhold blessings out of cruelty. He withholds them out of mercy. Because receiving without readiness is a curse, not a gift. So when he tells you, "You are wrong," he is preparing you. He is saying, "Before I give you what you asked for, you must become who can hold it." Being wrong is not rejection, it's refinement. There is also a sacred pain that comes with realizing you were wrong in how you treated people. Sometimes you hurt someone, not because you wanted to, but because you couldn't see clearly. You acted out of pride, fear, insecurity, or impatience. And when the truth hits you, the shame burns. That burn is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to purify you. God uses the fire of realization to cleanse the heart. If you let it, that fire will not leave you empty. It will leave you humble, compassionate, aware. It will remind you that every person you meet is fighting a battle you don't see. That awareness becomes the soil for forgiveness, both towards others and towards yourself. Being wrong is one of the greatest gifts God can give you. Because it means you are still learning, still alive, still capable of transformation. The only people who cannot be corrected are the ones who have closed themselves off completely. But if you can still